Hello and welcome to a Times special presentation for Thirukkural with the Times, where we explore real-world lessons from the classic Tamil text Thirukkural with motivational speaker, author and diversity champion Bharathi Baskar as she explores the masterpiece. The first generation of India's women's cricket team played not for fame but for faith, to prove that the game was no less sacred than the men's. And when Jemima Rodriguez raised a bat last week, it was as if she had carried on her shoulders the weight of every woman who had been told she couldn't. At a time when it was unheard of for women to enter the public sphere, Thiruvalluvar spoke of overcoming obstacles with great determination.
The roar swelled into thunder. Tears, laughter, tricolour flags in the wind. On the dazzling night, the Indian women's cricket team lifted the Women's ODI World Cup. Decades of waiting, countless quiet struggles, all gathered into that single breathtaking moment of victory. In the semi-finals before this victory, when Jemima Rodriguez walked into bat at number 3 against the mighty Australians, India was staring at an impossible chase of 338 runs. The heat was fierce, the fielders sharper, and every ball seemed to test her resolve. But she stood firm, slender frame, steady eyes, unyielding faith. Her 127 runs were not just strokes of skill, they were strokes of belief. Every run whispered that destiny bends before those who refuse to bow down. When she finally raised her bat, it was as if she had carried on her shoulders the weight of every woman who had even been told she couldn't. This heroic semi-final victory paved the way for India to enter the final and then lift the cup. But this victory did not bloom overnight. It grew from the long shadows of history. The first generation of Indian women cricketers, pioneers like Shanta Rangaswamy and Diana Edulji, played when cricket for women was almost an act of defiance. They travelled by train, often buying their own equipment, sometimes even funding their trips. There were no crowds, no sponsors, no headlines. They played not for fame but for faith, to prove that their game was no less sacred than the men's. Then came the next generation, where the struggles of players like Mithali Raj were different but no less real. The world had begun to notice but not to celebrate. The men's game glittered with contracts and cameras, while the women's team still lived in half-light. And then came the present set. Harmanpreet Kaur, Jemima Rodriguez, Shefali Verma, women who carried the strength of 2 generations within them. Jemima dropped from the match against England, returned to script history against the Australian match. Shefali, not even in the original squad, was called in at the last minute, and her fearless 87 runs in the final turned the impossible into triumph. Those once sidelined became the ones who conquered. The same undaunted spirit lives beyond the boundaries of sport. In my own field of public speaking, I once traced the story of the first woman who dared to stand before a microphone. My search led me back to 1909 to Parthasarathi Swami Sabha in Chennai, where a woman named Saraswati Bai stood for the first time to deliver a religious discourse interwoven with songs in front of an audience. The notice of the Sabha called her a lady Bhagavatar, and the audience gathered, some to listen, some merely to watch a woman on stage. Her courage came at a price. Male performers, angered by her presence, threatened to boycott the Sabhas that invited her. Musicians who accompanied her were warned of ostracism. But Saraswati Bai waited with grace, with patience, with a faith that never dimmed. And one day in Pune, she sang before Lokamanya Tilak, who moved by her voice and spirit, honored her with the title Kirtana Padu, meaning the singer of divine songs. From ridicule to reverence, her journey was incredible. History is full of such waiting women. Emily Dickinson once wrote, "Not knowing when the dawn will come, I open every door." She wrote in silence, trusting that her dawn would one day arrive, and it did. But she was not there to see it. Thiruvalluvar writes about people who endured to sustain at times of adversity. Sidhaividaththu Olgaar, Uravor, Pudhaiambir Pattupa Doondrung Kaliru. The undaunted quail not when things go wrong. The undaunted quail not when things go wrong, like the elephant that stands firm even when wounded by a shower of arrows. Valluvar's wisdom reminds us that true strength lies in the quiet dignity of those who keep walking even when wounded, who carry their pain without bitterness, and who trust that perseverance itself is a form of victory. That truly is the story of Jemima, Shefali, of Saraswati Bai, and of every woman who waited for her dawn yet never relented.